Why do I like the beach so much? It's not so much the beach, it's the sounds from the sea. I find it very calming and it gives you a chance to reflect. And I do an awful lot of thinking by the beach, by the sea. I think it's putting everything in perspective. It's quite a struggle every day. At the end of some weeks where you need a little bit of time on your own, and the sound of the sea and the beach give you that time.
Ken was working as a line production operative. He was working on a production line that produced returnable carbonated drinks.
So it was just a normal, productive day. You find out how many the previous shift had achieved and you thought, we'll have a go at beating those.
And we'd come to the end of a production run. Charlie asked Ken if he would do a cleaning operation.
I'd never done that job before in my life.
We normally had a patent chemical for the cleaning process, but we'd run out of it. So it was a case of, okay, plan B. Plan B is to make our own by mixing the two chemicals together.
And I'd been in the shift manager's office to say I can't get anybody to do it. And then I found an experienced guy that said he'll show me how to do it. And he was explaining to me as he was walking towards the changing room.
And he proceeded to do the cleaning, which meant mixing these two chemicals together in a canister. He poured one lot of chemical in, and then he was pouring the other chemical in. When the two reacted,
there was a 75-foot chemical explosion. I was probably 18 inches, 2 feet away from the cylinder, with my face directly in the firing line. The sound was like a horrendous whooshing sound, but all I saw was white. It was just like being on fire. My hands and my arms and my face and neck and head, they were so hot. It's panic. I can't run because I can't see. Is there anybody there? Is anybody doing anything? What the hell can I do? And you just scream out for help. Lee was the first person to come and help me. Fortunately, there was a power shower right by the side of me, and he just threw me in that. I was standing next to Lee and trying desperately to say to Lee, what's all this in my hands? And he couldn't tell me. He couldn't say a word, because he knew it was all the skin off my face that was hanging off my fingers.
I remember getting onto line 3, and the first thing I saw was Ken being supported in the shower, and I looked at Ken and I could see his eyes change from normal eyes into ping pong balls. As the colour went out of them, they became white. And if you can visualise at the same time, his skin was peeling off. He was being washed off by the shower, because caustic and fat, which is the human body, makes soap. So basically he was turning into soap and he was dissolving. But I look up and I could see a sea of faces from in the area around. A lot of people obviously in shock at what was going on.
I was told that yes, that he'd been in an accident and that he would call me when he got out of the emergency room. I definitely received 2 phone calls, because it was the second one that started to make my brain think, hang on a minute, something's not right here.
And the very first moment I met the consultant, she said, we'll do everything we possibly can to try and save the eyes. I realised straight away, I'm never going to see again. And when Sue came in that evening, I said to Sue, I'm going to be blind, and she wouldn't believe it at all. And the consultant happened to come round on the nightly rounds. And I said, while the two of us are here, I'm never going to see again, am I? And she said, no.
I think it was probably within the first couple of, well, 3 or 4 days, he told me to go.
But she's a stubborn bugger. She didn't do it, thank God. There was a lot of very painful medical treatments I had to go through, but I don't think that comes anywhere near the pain as when my children came into the hospital room. That was devastating for everybody.
We were eventually allowed home properly for Christmas and New Year, and it was New Year's Day that he actually lost his first eye. His lens actually slipped out because I was giving him the hourly drops then. They had to take his eye out, but when they take an eye out they have to pack the socket. But when they took this packing out, because the inside of his eye sockets was still badly burnt, it was so painful. Well, the consultant couldn't stay and watch it, and I felt so sorry for the sister who had to remove all these little padding balls, and it was one after another, and we were all in agony for him because we could see how painful it was. It's never seen anyone in so much pain. 3 months later he lost the second eye and had to go through the process all over again, knowing how terrible it had been the first time. There's most certainly daily frustrations for Ken, and as I say, every day for me as well, to see his frustrations.
It's there every single day of the week. Something will happen during the day that you think, oh, I'd love to see that. It's when my 2 grandchildren were born. I'd love to have seen them. I was there at the hospital, but I would have loved to have seen them. It's like my niece. She's 16 now. I saw her 4 days after she was born. And then 2 months after that, I lost my eyesight. I'd love to see what she looks like now. I thought I might get used to being blind, but I haven't. I scream to see. You learn to tolerate it, never accept it, fight it every day of the week. I mean, I know the sea's behind me, for God's sake. I'd love to see it. I'd love to.
Probably the hardest time was when Ken lost his mum. That really hit home to him, the fact that he hadn't been able to see his mum before she died, physically see her before she died. And that was a hard time for him. So it's hard for me if he's going through a hard time.
The moment I made that choice not to put those pair of goggles on, I destroyed my family from normal life. I cost the company 2.6 million. 35 people into counselling. I've never told my daughter 3 foot in front of me was a pair of goggles, never. If I did, she would ask one question, wouldn't she? One word.
You only need to know somebody who's had a major accident or somebody who's seen a major accident happen to know the devastation it causes to so many people around them. devastating for Ken's parents. Really, I don't think they have ever come to terms with it. Particularly Ken's father. He had a difficult time, and I think in some ways he still can't accept that it's happened to his only child.
The history's in the past. We can learn from it. The future's unknown. But the present is a gift. What are you going to do with it?